So, sitting down doing some editing because I recorded 3 videos today. I recorded a Spider-Man one, a Commanders one, and a Bills one. And the Commanders was supposed to come out today, and every single video file is corrupted. So instead, I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to post the Bills one tonight. So I'm sorry it's out of order, but Commanders will be tomorrow. Just heads up. Welcome. It's Bills off-season review, and you're probably wondering, Joseph, why do you got a Dolphins jersey up? And yes, I do actually have some Bills memorabilia. And I thought about putting that up. And then I thought, Tua, he was an interesting player. 1 week he'd be the Bills' best friends, throw him a few picks. But then other weeks he'd be the Bills stopper. So I thought it'd be fun to put him up there. And while we're on a topic like that, fit check time. Got a beanie on tonight. We got a Syracuse Carmelo Anthony jersey. Boom. Now, per usual, we're going to start with the projected starters for the offense and then work our way into the defense. And straight up, right now, this team is like, I don't know, it's giving me the feeling that, like, you watch a YouTuber your entire, like, childhood, and then you grow up, stop watching them, and then you come back 6 years later, and now they're married. That's what this team reminds me of for some reason, and it's really because it's a bunch of washed players. And I'm going to be honest, wow, I knew the team wasn't great, but yikes. So let's get into it. I mean, quarterback 1. Shocker, Josh Allen, top 3 quarterback in the league for my money. He's very consistent. He will always be in the MVP conversation, presumably. This hat is messing up my focus. I'm going to have to take it off. Yeah. Running back, James Cook. And again, remember, I watched hours of film on this. But I would say he actually carried the team more than Josh Allen did this year from the film watch. And then this is the real rough part. These are the projected starting wide receivers. I'm not saying these will be the starters. And I'm actually going to go into some depth for them. So DJ Moore at the 1, Khalil Shakir at the 2, and Josh Palmer at the 3. Now, normally I'd say a guy like, I'm taking the hat off, so messing up my focus. There you go, looking good. Now, looking at a guy like DJ Moore, normally I talk about him during the offseason additions, because, he was a big trade with the Bears, gave up a second-round pick for him, and we're not going to be grading this draft, we're not going to be talking about the draft picks in this, obviously, because I don't, this is a current season, not future season and past draft. No. So, I don't think DJ Moore's a good player. I know a few years ago with Justin Fields, shockingly at quarterback, he was a pretty good wide receiver. He actually had, I believe, 1,300 yards. Since then, he hasn't been good. Last year, he was the only starting wide receiver for Chicago to play all 17 games. I think. I might be wrong on that. And I think he only played 16. And yeah, he was not good. I think he was 3rd on the team in receiving yards. Let me take a look at that, actually. Which, again, stats don't say it all, but we'll get to the film watch on him. Woo! Bears receiving leaders. So, last year Okay, he was 2, and he did play all 17 games. In 17 games, he just had 50 catches for 680 receiving yards. He did have a lot of big-time catches with 12, but... And then, looking at the film, he's not much better. He gives up a lot on plays. Never forget that the end of the Bears season where he kind of stopped running his route and Caleb threw the pick. And then looking at Khalil Shakir and Josh Palmer at the 2 and 3. Yikes. Khalil Shakir is a very limited wide receiver. He did have 1,000 2 years ago in 24, but he's very limited. He's very good in the screen game and short yardage, but other than that, he's nothing. And same with Josh Palmer, but I will say I want to go over the 4 and the 5 projected. So the 4 is Keon Coleman, and Keon Coleman's an interesting guy. Now, apparently their head coach, who we'll get to later, is very high on Coleman. I do want to say I don't think the situation he's in is entirely his fault. I think he is talented when he's on the field, which he does struggle to be on the field because of whether it's behind the scenes stuff, but a lot of the time it is his personality and work ethic. But, I mean, I do think it also comes down to coaching and Josh Allen as a player, because Josh Allen as a player has shown in the past 2 years kind of prefers to spread the ball. I mean, he hasn't had a true dominant wide receiver one, so I'll give him that. But yeah, he hasn't shown that he likes to target one guy. But also the coaching, like the Bills coaching, let's be honest, it hasn't been great. I did like McDermott, even though I thought this past season he was underwhelming. And I'll get to that stuff later. And then Skyler Bell at the 5, and I really hope he can find his way into starting. Because I think he's promising, and I think it's important you develop wide receiver, because looking at the receiving core, none of these are young guys that starters. Like, they're old guys that have shown their worth, and it's not much. So I really do hope he finds himself starting, hopefully towards the middle of the season. And speaking of the middle of the season, I could see Keon Coleman getting traded eventually if he doesn't end up working out towards the middle of the season, which is very possible. Now, looking at the tight end room, Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. Two very polarizing tight ends, in my opinion. Like, if you ask, I live in upstate New York, so I'm around the Bills community. And if you ask those guys, if you ask them, like, at least around me, they love these two tight ends. But honestly, film-wise and stat-wise, the past 2 years, they've been underwhelming. And I don't think they really lived up to the hype. But I will say, I do think this is the best position group on the team. With Jackson Hawes, I think is how you say his name. Really good blocking tight end. And then looking at the O-line, this O-line, film-wise, they're awful. Stats-wise, they're not as bad in terms of everything besides pressures, but that's because Josh Allen is a playmaker. He will extend the play, sometimes better for worse. But left tackle, Deion Dawkins, he's a solid tackle. And again, I live in Bills country. Sadly, not a Bills fan. And, yeah, I mean, he's loved in the community, but there's also times where some fans would rather have his head on a spike than him playing football. And then Alec Anderson, nothing special. Neither is Osiris Torrance. I'm not really too in love with them at tackle. Connor McGovern, though, I do think is a good tight end. Center. Holy, 3 times. But the contract he gave out, I know, is a little controversial. And I'll say this. After the film launch, after looking at the stats, he's an above-average center. And I think it is worth paying an above-average center if you know you're going to get that play. I will say this year he did have kind of a down year compared to his past few seasons, but I mean, this offensive line in general wasn't great. And Spencer Brown, I do like him at right tackle. Now we're going to go to the defense. Whew! And yikes, this is one defense right here, for better or for worse. We're going to start, again, these are all projected starters. This is not guaranteed, but TJ Sanders at edge, with Ed Oliver at the other edge. Yeah. Okay. And then Deontay Walker. I could not find film on this guy, so I'm not going to comment on him. I could not find any film on him at nose tackle. And then weak side linebacker is a guy I actually really like. And again, the Bills community likes him. Greg Rousseau. I think this could honestly be his breakout year where he gets 10 sacks maybe. Again, I'll get to coaching in a bit, but that does worry me a little bit. Then your left inside linebacker is Dorian Williams. And your right inside linebacker is Terrell Bernard, which, wow, I thought he was better than he is. But looking at the stats and film, it might just be name value. Because this year he was honestly, from the film I watched, don't get me wrong, I didn't just sit and watch 5 hours of Terrell Bernard film because this video would never come out. He did not look good. Maybe I picked the wrong film, but he looked awful, honestly. And then looking at strong side linebacker. Bradley Chubb. And this one's an interesting one. Again, normally I talk about this type of guy in offseason additions, but I want to do it now. No, don't get me wrong. He is a very good edge. He's above average edge. Well, not edge, sorry, pass rusher. But the contract they gave to him, I don't like. I think it's a bit much for his age. But you know what? If he can stay healthy, which he did struggle with last year, if he can stay healthy and be on the field, this is an instant upgrade from what the Bills had last year. Now we're going to look at safeties. And I'm going to include 3 safeties here. I know one is listed at nickel. But Cole Bishop, Geno Stone, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Now, when I tell you at the time, Geno Stone was my least favorite free agency signing. He still is. Geno Stone was absolutely awful last year with the Bengals. He was absolutely atrocious. I tried watching his film, and I was like, oh my God, put me on the field, coach. Cole Bishop, though, I am intrigued with. I know he's a young guy, and I know I'm in Bills country, and they love him here. I think he has a potential breakout season. And then, nickelback / safety, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And again, it's a guy that has a special place in my heart. I'm a Philly fan. I love C.J. Every time he's been on a team, we've been great. And I'll say this about C.J. When he is at his best, he is a very good safety. When he's in his own head or someone else is in his head, he is not a good safety. His teammates don't particularly like him. I think I can think of a case on the Saints, the Saints, the Texans, the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Lions, where his teammates did not enjoy his presence. I can't think of one for the Bears, though. And then at corners, Christian Benford and Maxwell Harrison. Now, Maxwell Harrison did not play a ton last year, but you know what? For a rookie, he looked good out there, and I am very excited to see him play this season. I think he has very high upside compared to a lot of guys on this defense. But I won't say anything else because he's a rookie. He did have some oops moments, but he also had some good moments. And I did really enjoy his ball tracking ability last year. Sure, with the throws that he got his picks off, good throws. Not necessarily, but when you catch a ball as a DB, you're not going to complain. Doesn't matter. But then the other guy, Christian Benford. And again, kind of was riding this guy off meme value, but last year, he struggled. Again, very good ball tracker, but there's a lot of times in coverage where he'd make the wrong read, like if you're like on a choice route or receiver would break in and then out, and he would fall for that in, break down on it, open. Or sometimes he did struggle in the tackling, but you know what? He's a young player. I'm willing to look to the future instead of judging him now. I mean, he's only 25, so there's nothing here to complain about. I do think he could be a very good player, and I hope he does for him. But I will say, even if Geno Stone returns to form, Cole Bishop develops, Maxwell Harrison also develops, and Christian Benford becomes a great corner, this secondary will struggle because this line is not good. This Bills defense is not good. I want to make that very clear. On paper, this is not a good team, and we'll get into that. Why I really think that with the coaching after in a bit, Now, looking at this free agency class, it's nothing special, but it's not the worst. First off, Kyle Allen, backup quarterback, whatever. Bradley Chubb, I already did discuss him. I should have waited. I do agree. D. Alford. I mean, it's depth. I would be surprised if he weasels starting in. Besides maybe at nickel, because you don't really know what C.J. Gardner-Johnson if he'll even make the team, and they did trade Taron Johnson, so... And then at safety, we already talked about him, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You got Mitch Winkowski at punter, Geno Stone at safety. I was not a fan of that. And, Bradley Chubb is really carrying this free agency class. But I will say, I'll be optimistic, and I'll say this is not the worst free agency class in the league. I do like this more than the last team that we went over in the Commanders and Cowboys. Actually, I kind of like the Commanders a little more, but yeah, this isn't great. So we're going to get into the draft and then coaching. I hate this. I hate it all. Every single hire I hate. Joe Brady is head coach. Now listen. I'm not saying he's an awful coach. He was definitely not one of the worst OCs in the league last year. He was kind of below average. And I think it's crazy that I actually agree with the firing, for some reason I can think of his name, of their former head coach. Because you know what? Yeah, he hasn't brought them much success. Yeah, The roster's not been great, yeah, but that does come down to coaching. But what I am shocked at is that he lost his job and Brandon Beane didn't lose his job. That's crazy to me because, believe it or not, roster construction falls on the GM. And you know what? Again, I'm not trying to dive into next year. They have negative $33 million cap space next year. Who are they paying outside of Josh Allen and James Cook? Tell me who. Who is worth a contract that is bringing them down to negative $33 million? And then offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael Jr. Not the worst signing of the offseason at offensive coordinator. But I don't like it. I'll be honest. The defensive coordinator, this is a potential based hire. Jim Leonhard. Yeah, he was as good as the Broncos defensive backs coach last year. But it is very important that if you're a coordinator, you have experience in the league. He has 3 years in the NFL. Has never been a coordinator in the NFL. I don't like this signing. And I think it will... Sean McDermott really, really strung that defense together. And last year they weren't good. They were pretty middle of the pack. I mean, they were the worst rushing defense in the league. So in turn, their passing defense was a little better. But I hate it. I hate this coaching staff. I hate every single part of it. Now, this draft, on the other hand, I'm actually a pretty big fan of. I won't lie. Now, TJ Parker was your first pick. That's a good upside pick, in my opinion. You need a linebacker to help. And you get a guy out of Clemson, and I like that. I'm not even going to attempt to say his name, but Davidson, last name, from Ohio State, the corner. Again, you need corner help. This is a second-round pick, by the way. Go attack that. I like that. I like that pickup. And then Jude Bowery, outside of Boston College. I don't think he was going to play this year. But, if he does, that's good, unless someone's hurt. I never hope for an injury. And then we get 2 back-to-back picks here. Skylar Bell, and I already gave my opinion on him. I am very excited to see him play. I mean, he's a UConn receiver, so UConn's not necessarily a football school, but I am very excited to see him play. I do think he could be a weapon in this offense if he's developed right. Again, I don't know what's up with the Bills and Jets, people with last names I can't pronounce, but Caleb Alarms, or I don't know a ton about him. I watched a little bit of film. I squeezed it in right before. I kind of do like this pick, though. But I don't think he's going to get a ton of playing time being a 4th-round selection. And that's another thing I want to talk about. I know they did a lot of trades, and the more the merrier, but you're telling me your first 5 picks are 2 seconds, which is good, but then 3/4, you don't have a third at all, and then 2 5ths and 3 7ths. And I'm not gonna lie, everybody outside of Zach Durant, maybe the D tackle out of Penn State in the 5th round. I don't think anybody besides the first 5 picks I talked about is going to be used this year. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm not excited to watch this team play because honestly, their depth chart's not good on paper. They didn't really do anything impactful in the draft besides maybe 2 picks, maybe 3 if they're lucky. I think this is a very sit-and-wait class, which is not a bad thing, don't get me wrong, but they're not going to have a lot of production in year 1, which is okay. I mean, developing would be good if they could develop, but they have struggled doing that, so it feels like a theme that every schedule so far has been a doozy, and wow, this one fucking sucks. Excuse my language. But listen to the first 5 games here. Texans week 1, Lions week 2, Chargers week 3, Patriots week 4, Rams week 5. It was a Thursday night game too, by the way. That's a rough 5 games, and I'm going to go on a limb here. I think they only win 2 of those games, and I'll tell you right now, I think that's the Lions and Chargers games. I think they do lose to the Patriots at home. I think they lose to the Rams away and the Texans away. But then they do get a little easier. Raiders and bye week. It should be a win and a break. But then you immediately come out Ravens, Vikings, Jets, Dolphins, Chiefs, No, listen. The Jets and Dolphins probably won't be competitive this year, but they are your division rivals. They know you better than any team. I do think they will win those games, and I do have them winning the Ravens game coming off the bye week. But I have them losing the Vikings game because this Vikings defense is a very good defense. And, I don't think this team can keep up with their defense. And if Kyler Murray is even decent, I don't think the Bills' defense can keep up. I have them losing that. Chiefs, this one's going to be hot because in the regular season, Josh Allen's kind of owned the Chiefs. I'm taking the Chiefs on Thursday night. Is that Thanksgiving? No, that's Thanksgiving. Oh. Yeah, I'm taking them. Then you get Patriots, Packers, Bears, Broncos, Dolphins, and Jets. What a shitty way to end your season. I'm going to be generous here. I think you could win 2 or 3 out of those games. And then you get the Jets, which I do think will be a win. I think you'll be resting starters at that point. But honestly, I don't think this team is going to be as good as years past. Again, I think this defense is atrocious. The offense is kind of the exact same as last year, just plus DJ Moore, who I don't think is great or even good for that. I think your floor is 9-8. And the only reason it is 9-8 is because of Josh Allen. Any other team with this schedule and this roster is going way less than 9-8. But you have Josh Allen on your team. And I'm going to shoot a very optimistic 11-6. I think you guys have a ceiling, and I think that's also the most realistic. So I'm going to say right now, I think you guys go 11-6. And you could win the division with that. I think you do come up second, though. Maybe the Pats get it again. We don't know. We'll see in there. Breakdown, I'll give you that. Yeah, this is going to be a rough year for the Bills. Well, anyways, I know this one was a little faster, I think. Maybe I haven't edited it yet, so. But much love. Do something positive today. I love you all. And remember, I'm doing this from a non-biased way. I got a lot of Bills fans, Bills friends. But actually, I'm going to include that. I didn't plan on it, but I talked to 2 Bills fans, and I actually know a lot more than 2. And both of them said that this year, even being biased, they don't really see the Bills as this good team that they've been, which is disappointing. You never want to hear that from diehard fans. They said they do still have Super Bowl contention. I agree because of Josh Allen. But they also, one of them I believe had them going 10-7, and the other I think was also 11-6. So it's sad when the fans doesn't support what the team is doing. But, I hope nothing but the best for Josh Allen and the Bills. Much love to you all, and see you later. Hey, it's Editing Joseph again. Now, while I was editing this, every single one of my clips happened to get corrupted, just like the Commanders video, so I had to go in and fix that. And while I did that, for some reason the audio got messed up, so I'm really sorry that my fan is loud as hell during this video. I will promise it will be fixed when I record the Commanders video. But much love to you all, and I'm sorry for the scuffed video. It was a rough time making this. But love. See you guys. I guess the Commanders is up next, but then Dolphins, and then Pats and Jets probably. So love you all.